then later, that we could do that.
Yeah, I would like to say that this is the first I've had to actually see the memo because of email problems. So I am gonna go in another room where I can focus on reading.
Yes. So if you didn't hear that, Natalia is going to go to another room to focus on reading on the memo.
Great. Thanks, Natalia. It's like, yeah, I was like, there'll be a couple, I had a couple grammatical edits to it, but otherwise it looks really awesome. So let us know when you're back. That's not, oh wait, hold on. I hear back from Margit. Thank you, Natalia. Take your time.
Oh,
okay.
She joined.
Great. Okay, Margit is getting on now if the rural connectivity allows.
Great. Okay, so we do have quorum now.
Well,
right? Well,
Oh,
yeah.
Thank you, Crystal. I see you. I see that.
Right.
Let's just like wait a minute.
Do we have any public in person? We have none online.
We do. We have Ashton Martin.
Awesome. Ashton, do you have any public comments? You have 3 minutes.
I would say just as friendly feedback on some of the terms used, making sure to be consistent and use language that's in the county code already.
Okay, yes.
So specifically the mixing of high quality agricultural soils and then conflating that with prime soils. So prime farmland is different from class 1-2 soils, which the food system plan defines class 1-2 soils as high quality agricultural. So it's a bit of a
there's prime farmland and there's high quality agricultural land. And high quality agricultural land is on class 1-2 soils, right?
Correct. Right. It's a minor thing, but it just
no, consistency is good.
Thank you, Ashton.
Discussion of what I need.
Public comment. We're starting a public comment with Ashton Martin. It just happens to overlap with some consistency issues in the draft.
Okay.
So would you like me to wait?
I mean, what we could do
here and then be able to go read and edit this. Because I've not had a chance to edit it. My email has been non-functional.
Why don't we then if we can move public comment then till after we get our presentation from Crystal? She said that she was available to give her presentation now. How does that feel for everybody?
Is that okay, Natalia?
The presentation is on
her Yeshua. She went to Yeshua Tribal.
okay.
I think we could also invite public comment on the individual items. Like often it's the case where you have public comment after an individual item, right? Since Ashton is, I think, here to comment publicly on a single item, we can put it in as well, rather than at the front.
I think I mean, I feel okay with that too.
Agreed.
Yeah, and Natalia, one moment, guys. Natalia, if you prefer, you can close the door if it helps with audio.
What?
If it helps with audio, you can also close that door, if you like. The big wooden door.
So we're going to move to Crystal's presentation.
We're moving to Crystal's presentation.
Well,
what do you want to do?
We should approve the agenda.
Okay.
Well, we need Natalia for that.
Do we?
Yeah, we need. We don't have 9 without Natalia.
Right.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Really think.
Yeah. Let's move to the presentation.
That's how Aaron, I have the same as well, so that's why I don't wait till Natalia is done reading it. So Aaron had put in the chat that there's some proofreading I think that needs to be done on the memo, which I had a couple grammatical changes. So I think we should get our presentation from Crystal right now, since we don't need to approve that, and I think everybody really wants to work on this memo. Thoughts? do we want to just pause and wait for Natalia to come back?
No, I think that sounds good, Emily, to start with, as long as Crystal's cool with it.
I'm fine with
I
it. I was gonna say I'm probably gonna keep my camera off the whole time.
see it on the
because-
agenda.
What was that? Oh.
Keep going, Crystal. Margie, I'm gonna ask you to maybe type in the chat if you can, or turn off your camera if you want to use audio.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I was just gonna say I'm gonna keep my camera off because I have my 2-year-old and my 4-year-old, so they'll probably, if I had my camera on, you would just see them like running amok and climbing all over me and stuff probably in the background. So so I will just keep my camera off if that's okay with everyone.
Yes, and I have given you permission to share screen.
Yeah, I'm not very tech savvy, so I'm trying to. Okay, so do I go, Connie, do I go down to the bottom where and then hit the little button that says share?
Yes, and then do options on which window to share, and then click on the one that has your presentation.
Okay, let me see. See if I can figure this out.
Also, I could share it, and then you just tell me when to go next.
Okay, let me try to. Sorry, let me try to do it, and then we can do the options. So screen. Um, no, no, that doesn't work. Let me try this. We might have to do it your way, Connie, because I don't know how to. It's through Google Slides, and I don't know how to share. I don't know how to share that here.
I was like, Connie can do it. I'll just give you, Crystal, a little couple tips on this. When you do share screen, it'll pop up like multiple things you can share, and it'll be like, I don't know what your browser is, but it'll say like Firefox, or I don't know what another browser is. Safari. And then because since it's a Google slide, it would share from your browser.
Okay, so for my browser then, okay. Okay, let me try that.
It looks like Connie has it shared for you.
Okay, I was gonna say I did make some more changes from the one that I gave you, Connie. Here. I'm sorry, everyone.
You got this.
Okay.
New technology is a whole thing for us all.
I'm like, I don't know how the heck to do this. Okay. Let me just.
Do you have your Google Slides open in a browser already?
I have it. It's an app.
It's an app. Okay.
Yeah.
So then it might switch over to the app then. So if you do share screen, it should have Google Slides as an app that is an option. Like when I push it, I have desktop, and then I can share my browser, I can share my email.
Let me see. It's not even giving me. Let me look at it. Slides. It doesn't even give me the option to do Google Slides. That's weird.
Do you have Google Slides open already?
Yeah.
I don't know. Are you on an iPad?
No, I'm just on my phone.
Oh, okay. I don't know enough how it works on a phone.
Maybe you can also add me on the slides on the
Yeah.
Google. Yeah.
That's a good suggestion.
That's what I was getting ready to just do. Okay, I'll do that. Here. Okay. And Connie. Okay, Connie, I added you. I also do apologize. I'll be kind of like a little bit sniffly because still trying to get over some COVID, so
I'm so sorry that you had COVID. I was gonna say, 'cause you have kids, that was gonna be my reason why you are sniffling.
yes. Okay, let me. Okay, thank you for everyone's patience. I'm also kind of a little bit nervous, so.
You got this, man. You were up on stage with Alexis.
I know, but I mean, Alexa was so nervous too. She was like breathing. She was like, "We got this." We were like pumping each other back, like back behind the stage, and it was a very humbling moment because I was nervous, but she was also nervous. I was just like, "Oh, okay." She's nervous too.
Yeah, it's great when you're like heroes are also, real humans too.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, we're here to champion you on. You got this. We're excited to learn about this and just, be yourself. Share what you've learned and whatever you want to share. I'm excited to learn.
Okay. Yeah, I'm excited to share too because this tribal gathering was just like really, really amazing, and I'm really, really, really happy that I had the chance to go. Sorry, 1 second. My 4-year-old's calling me. Okay. Well, I'm ready when you are, Connie. Because you're gonna control the slides, right?
She said yes with her mouth, but you're muted.
Oops. Yes, just tell me to go next and I'll put the next.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll introduce myself first. My name is Crystal Bradshaw Gonzalez. On my dad's side, I'm African American, but on my mom's side, I'm Native, and my core tribes on my mom's side are Halawasaponi and Saponi Nation of Ohio. I am also Okanichi, Banasaponi, and I had the awesome opportunity to go to a tribal gathering in Virginia. It was at Virginia Tech University in Blacksburg, and that took place in July. So I'm going to share some of that information. It was basically, the gathering was mainly about language and, but also was about like foodways and traditional foods. And we got to go on some field trips to look at different things. So I will share some of that information with you guys here. Okay, I'm ready for the next slide, Connie. So this is just a little bit about who we are. I'm trying to think of it in a way to like how to explain it in a way that would kind of everyone would understand. But collectively, we all fall under the name of Yesan, and we all originally came from the Ohio River Valley area, and then we were pushed down to Virginia, where we were actually held at a fort over there for a while. and children were given English names. It was the last time our language was recorded, because then after that, there was a huge push for English. So children were given English names. The English language was really pushed, and the fort eventually closed. And when that happened, we were then forced into different areas, whether that was to, I don't like the word absorb, but kind of like to join larger tribes, because we had been so decimated at that point that there was like a really small number, about like 300, if I remember right. And we either joined larger tribes like the Tuscaroras over in New York, or Cayugas or Senecas, or even Oneidas, and all the way up in Canada. And then some of us, like my family members, we were actually pushed and affected by the 1830, 1850s Indian Removal Act. So we were pushed back up to Ohio, our traditional lands, and then Kansas, and then we're at Oklahoma. Saying someone has entered the waiting room. What do? It says view or admit. It says TNN's iPad entered the waiting room.
Tyler, could you admit him?
Okay, sorry. But that's just a little bit about us, because we all collectively fall under the same language. And I don't like the word Siouan, but that was what we were given and called. So we use the word Siouan, so Eastern Siouan peoples, and that tribes Haudenosaunee and Saponi Nation of Ohio, as well as Monacan and Occaneechi, Saponi, and other different tribes. We all fall under the name Yesan collectively. And in the picture on this slide, obviously that's me on the far left, and then next to me is Desiree. She's part of the Monacan Nation, and then Alexa, who she helped me with a lot of the information in this presentation. She's also supporting Nation of Ohio. And then on the far right is Corey Roberts. He's actually he's a descendant of the Occaneechi tribe, and he also is the tribal language instructor. Okay, I'm ready for the next slide, Connie, please. So here's a list of just, I guess, the known, because obviously we've had more traditional foods than this, but these are like the actual known traditional foods, that we ate before colonization. I don't know how else to say that. But matahe, which is corn, that was a huge part of our diet. And on the next slide, I'll kind of show some information about why exactly. And one of our corns was still is, the strawberry Tutelo corn, which has been revitalized and has been regrown and has been shared throughout the different Yesan communities. And I now have some after going to that tribal gathering, and I'm really excited because I'm going to grow that to give back to the tribe, but then also just for my own family. Hadene, which means beans. We also ate a lot of hadene. There's actually a story about she was called the Bean Woman, and it's a story about how the beans and the corns grow together. So that was also another big food that we traditionally ate, because it was also really high in protein to try to make up for all the corn that we were eating. And then also to supplement our diets, we also ate a lot of what you call like fatty foods. And I was really interested in this part because we actually started a discussion about, obviously throughout Indian country, there's a lot of like problems with like diabetes and different things like that. But we started talking about specifically for us, Eastern Woodlands peoples. And we found that we do like a lot of really fatty, high fat, a lot of sweet stuff. And we think obviously it still comes from our ancestors and the foods that they ate, because the Tutelo corn that I mentioned earlier, it's a very, very sweet corn. And when you cook it, it almost tastes like maple syrup. So it's a very, very sweet corn. and a lot of also some of the supplements that we had to our diet was a lot of really fatty foods, so like a lot of nuts, a lot of what's it called, animal fat. So like we would eat black bears, and we would take their meat and we would cook and take the fat, and then we would use that to eat. So we put that on our bread, and we would just mix it in with our food, because that added a lot of calories and a lot of carbohydrates that we needed, that we weren't getting from the corn, and that we weren't getting from like a lot of more lean meat like deer. And so that goes into the next section of like meat that we ate, which was deer. We did eat buffalo, because there were buffalo. A lot of people don't know that, but there were also buffalo down in North Carolina, Virginia area. So we did eat some buffalo. Lamb's quarter, that was one of our traditional foods. I thought that one was interesting. Wayukan Akakai, that's kind of like a name that, there's not an official name for sunchokes. Some people call them Jerusalem artichokes. But that is still one of our traditional foods. And there's not a word for that. I kind of just made up that word for myself. That's what I call it, because the translation of that is spreading root. And like if you've ever grown what's it called, sunchokes, you know that they spread like crazy. They're really hard. Like once you plant them, it's hard to get them all up, because they will just like take off. So I thought that was a very like fitting name to give it. And then Waihoi, which means fish. We also obviously we lived by a lot of rivers, a lot of waters. So we ate a lot of fish as well. And I guess I talk about this a little bit more later on, but we also use the fish as a form of calcium, because we would actually, when we would cook it, we would mash up the bones and we would eat the bones with the meat. And that's how we also were able to get more calcium in our diets. Okay, I'm ready for the next slide, Connie. So this is just a little bit more information about the corn, since it was such a huge part of our diet. And on the right, I have a list of just like the nutritional value of corn versus beans, and so all this information basically came from a Monacan elder named Victoria Ferguson. And the way she explained this was that, fresh corn doesn't have as much nutrients, fresh corn doesn't have as much nutrients as dry corn. So we would dry the corn. We make obviously hominy, like a lot of different native peoples, but we also would make a lot of cornmeal. And one of the corns that we had, which we still have, is the Tutelo corn. That was a perfect corn for cornmeal. So we ate a lot of cornmeal, because it was a very, very sweet corn. Like I said, it had a maple syrup taste to it. So that's just a little bit of information just to kind of see like why we ate so much corn. And that's a picture there of the Tutelo. They also call it strawberry corn. So it's a very pretty like pink, red kind of color. Okay, I'm ready for the next slide, Connie. So this talks about a little bit more about how we were able to get more calories into our diets, which I guess this slide kind of explains itself, but by eating the fat, it also helped us absorb different vitamins, which is, those different vitamins came from the beans, and different foods like lamb's quarters that we also ate. When we would hunt black bears, you could get about 3 gallons of lard. That's what Vicky had said. And a gallon of lard would last a family of 6 about 42 days. So we would eat like 1 tablespoon of lard each day. That'd be like dipping it in bread, or using it in cooking. So that was how we were able to help like sustain ourselves outside of just like outside of the corn. Okay, I'm ready for the next slide, Connie, please. So this talks about the different nuts that we traditionally used, and we still use this. There's actually a cultural class that's going to go on in December, teaching tribal members about how to make acorn bread, which I don't think I have that slide in here, but that was something that Vicky had talked about too, was the bread we ate was so important because acorn bread, I'm trying to remember, it had, I think she said just one loaf had like over 300 something calories in it. So it had a significant amount of calories that we needed. Plus, if you put the fat, on top of that, it adds even more. And then you're also eating the corn and the beans. So with all that, we were able to sustain ourselves a little bit better. We also ate hickory nuts. We made acorn oil to put on the bread, and then later on to fry bread. Oh, there it is. 1/2 acorn flour was 351 calories. So that's and Vicky, she had compared that to deer. And it was just significant, like a significant amount, like difference of calories versus deer, because deer is a very like lean meat. So when we would hunt deer, we'd obviously have to split it between everyone. And then by the time you share it with everyone, there's really not that much, I don't know, what do you call it, sustenance left. So like you would eat, but it wouldn't really like fill you. And this also helps supplement our diet so we didn't overhunt those animals like deer and buffaloes and bears. Okay. I'm ready. Yep, there you go. So this slide's about traditional agriculture, and I just have agriculture in parentheses because I don't think we've ever used the word agriculture. I feel like it was I don't think we've even used the word steward the land. It's always just like about relationships, but I don't know how to explain it in a way. I didn't know how to explain it in a way that would kind of make sense, because I don't like the word farming either, but I understand that's what we have used for many, many years now. Okay, one sec. I'm gonna have to step away for a second. Sorry.
That's okay.
I put this in the chat, but just as a comparison, I was looking at this while Crystal was talking. A 1/2 cup of whole wheat flour is about 200 calories. So that acorn flour has such more significant nutrient dense calories to it. Fun fact.
That's cool.
And as opposed to wheat farming.
Say that again, Cody.
Oh, and it is perennial as opposed to wheat farming, which requires different inputs. Now then in that area also like running pigs and running it. I could go on. I won't, but I could.
Connie, can you go back to the first, or Crystal's first slide, or about her tribe in general, which I don't know if that was the first or the second slide. Second slide, maybe. Thanks.
Can you see?
Yeah. Thank you. In the meantime, is Natalia back? Do we want to approve the agenda while we wait?
Sure.
Natalia, are you
Natalia's just reading, yeah.
I was like, we have Tyler and Margit on as well, so
Don't need to.
I was like,
Okay.
yeah. I was like, we're good. My only thing with, I was like, so with the agenda, we've moved some pieces around. Do we need to include that in the agenda approval? I also want to change item 4 where it says president by Crystal is to presented.
Yeah.
So moving item 4 up to item 1, and then everything else should be okay. Can I get a motion for approval of the agenda? With the changes that I suggested, unless there are other changes or discussion.
I move that we approve the agenda with the changes that you suggested. Oh, did you have other changes?
Second.
Item 3.
1 second, Natalia.
Presented by the working group, should that be presentation by?
Yes. So Ben, did you make the motion?
I made the motion, and
Margit seconded. All right, and we will go around one at a time. Hold on. Cody.
Aye.
Ashley.
Aye.
Enrique.
Aye.
Ben.
aye.
Natalia.
Aye.
Aaron.
Aye.
Margit. Oh, Margit. Sorry, Margit seconded it. Sorry, Tyler.
Sorry, muted. Sorry.
Aye.
I'm trying to be quiet here.
You're doing great. And this is Emily. All right, agenda approved with those changes. Thank you, everybody. And then we needed a motion to approve the meeting minutes from November 6th. Take a look. We had a couple changes. Changing Natalia's name, spelling. Thank you. With changing Mackie Moore's, changing agrivoltaics, and I think that looked good. Otherwise, any other additional changes to the meeting minutes from November 6th? I hear no changes. And with that, can I get a approval of these meeting minutes?
Hey, Emily?
Yes, Ashley.
I move to approve the minutes as amended.
Thank you, Ashley. Can I get a second?
This is Tyler. I'll second.
Thank you, Tyler. All right, and I'll go around. Cody.
Aye.
Enrique.
Aye.
Ben.
Aye.
Natalia.
Aye.
Aaron.
Aye.
Margit.
Aye.
And this is Emily. Aye. Meeting minutes from November 6th. That motion has passed. Great. What do we want to do next, everybody? Do we want to
Has Crystal returned?
Crystal, are you back yet?
Yes, I am. I'm sorry.
Oh, awesome. That's okay. That's great. We approved, we got our administrative stuff out of the way for the time being. And we will return back to listen to the rest of your presentation. Thank you so much.
You see?
Yeah, I can see. Thank you. Okay, so traditional agriculture. Yeah, so that was a really interesting thing that I really enjoyed learning about, was how we traditionally grew our food. Because as you can see in the picture there, we first off, everyone's probably heard of the Three Sisters and how, you can use the mound method to plant and stuff like that. But we used kind of a similar method, but instead of just like the individual mounds, we did like a row. So it'd be like mounded in a row, like in the picture. And that would actually help support the corn or whatever plants we were growing there to create a deeper root system, but also would also be a form of irrigation. So like with the corn, obviously corn wants more water. So when it would rain, it would help collect the water and keep the water there, you know. But if it was I don't know, I'm trying to think of a plant more like beans. We want to just plant beans individually, but I'm just trying to think of a different plant. Like beans don't like to have a lot of water. They don't like soggy roots. So we would actually we would use it to irrigate it. So we'd actually create a little irrigation system where we would push that water to a different part of plants that we were growing that needed more water. So I thought that was really, really interesting. And the only form of fertilization that we traditionally used was burning. So we would do burnings in the fall, burnings in the spring, and it would just help, it would just help start everything fresh. So I thought that was really, really interesting too. We had something called food pits, and this is what archaeologists use to be like, well, this is what your ancestors ate. It's kind of interesting. But so we also had something called food pits, and they're basically just like little mini they were just like composting pits essentially. Like the food and the bones and different things that we ate would just break down until it would just fill back up. It would all turn into organic material, so it would turn into dirt again. And then we would actually keep building on those, and those would create mounds, and then we would build houses and different things on top of them. So I thought that was really, really interesting. So it's like the OG original composting kind of bin. And a big part of our traditional quote unquote agriculture was seed sharing. And I think that goes for a lot of different Native peoples. But that was actually how one of our main corn survived, was because when I explained earlier about how once we were forced out of that fort, we kind of some of us went into like larger tribes, so like Seneca, Tuscarora, different things like that. Well, that's how the strawberry Tudelo corn actually survived, was, you know, intermarrying in those larger tribes, and then also keeping traditions and different things like that. So when these Indian agents were going in and they were asking about different things, you know, those family members would be like, oh, well, this is from my wife's side of the family, and this is the tradition that we do because this is from her people, and here's some seeds that are her people's seeds, and different things like that. And then once we hit about 100 people, we would split. So we would go into different hunting areas just to help keep down, just to keep from over hunting, overpopulating. And the way we built our houses, so our traditional houses are long houses, and we built them in a way that they would only last so long. So that would also encourage us to keep moving. I'm trying to remember who it was. Another tribe had a specific name for us where they called us the wandering people, because we were known for just moving. We had seasonal migrations, which other tribes did too, but ours was more significant, where we would move to whole different areas. So yes, I'm ready for the next page, please, Connie. Okay, so this is kind of like, why does it matter? This matters because this part of Kansas, Northeast Kansas and Virginia, have very similar climates. So they both have very, very hot, humid, disgusting summers. I'm sorry. I grew up with my dad's side of the family in Southwest Kansas. So I grew up being very used to like dry, not humid summers. So moving up to this part of Kansas was like, oh my God, it was like, everything feels wet and gross. And that's how Virginia is too. It's very humid, very hot. There's a lot of spring rains down there, which is why we planted why we traditionally planted the way that we did. And it also matters because of like I had said about the way we planted, it would also help with like water conservation, deeper root systems. And that's something I've been hearing a lot of people have been coming up and asking, is like, how do I garden? How do I farm with like less water? How do I do that? Because I feel like it keeps getting drier and drier every year in this part of Kansas. But for me, I'm still like, this is a lot of water compared to what I grew up in Southwest Kansas, which is there's a drought every year. So that is something that I've been hearing a lot of people asking about is like, how do I farm? How do I garden with like less water, or how to conserve water? And that's something that everyone can use. So they can do that mound system. They can use instead of using chemical fertilizers, you can use just burning. And that was something we actually did at the Indigenous Community Centers community garden this spring. Actually, is we did a burning over there, and it was taught through Courtney Masterson, and it's something that anyone can do. Sorry, 1 second. Alicia, you're okay. It's something that anyone can do because that garden, even though it's in the north part of Kansas or north part of Lawrence, is still technically within city boundaries. So we were still able to do that burning within city boundaries, and Courtney Masterson taught us that for free. And she's also willing to teach other people. So other community gardens can do it. And I will say like it was a huge, vast difference between last growing season and this growing season. After doing the burning, we had so much more diversity of plants. The first year, we had a whole bunch of what's called mare's tail. I think someone else called it something different, like pig's weed or something. I can't remember. But we just all basically had a whole bunch of mare's tail in between like the little garden plots that we had of like with food growing. And once we did the burning, we had so much more diversity. We had a whole bunch of different grasses that came up. We had a whole bunch of lamb's quarter, which we were like, where the heck did this lamb's quarter come from? We didn't plant this. A couple of the elderberry trees accidentally got burned, but like those trees took off. Like they got even bigger. They produced a whole bunch of berries this year. So it was just really, really, really interesting seeing that's all it really takes is like you don't have to use all these fertilizers. You don't have to add all this different stuff to the soil. It's just that is fertilization. You're fertilizing the ground, you're giving it a new start just simply just by just with the burning. So that's obviously something people here in this part of Kansas can also use too. So I'm ready for the next page, Connie. Continuing about why it matters. So I've also seen that too, a really huge like surge and push for like native plants, not just planting native plants, but how do I eat this? How do I harvest this? How do I, what do I have this food now, what do I do with it? So that's something that a lot of people can use that information I provided about. So like I mentioned, sunchokes, that's also a Kansas native plant. And a lot of people are kind of like, well, how do I eat this? And so it's like, by looking at how we ate it, that also can teach people in this part of Kansas how to eat sunchokes as well. And I'm trying to see, what does that say? That says so tiny. Oh, vitamin deficiency, such as calcium, like I shared about with the fish bones. Come here, baby. Yeah, you're okay. Like I shared. You're okay. I shared about the fish bones. And then hominy is also a good form of calcium as well. Okay, just 1 second. Okay, and I'm ready for the next slide, Connie. Oh, so okay, this is towards the end, guys. Got 2 more slides. Sorry. So this is acknowledgements. So wanted to really acknowledge Alexa. I call her Alexa, but her full name is Alexandra. Okay, you need to wait a second, okay? And she really helped me a lot with just the historical information of this presentation. And she also is part of Indigenous East, which Indigenous East just provides awareness and information to to other people who are not part of the Yesa communities about just like who we are, and they host different events, and they're the ones who are having the cultural class that I mentioned about the acorn bread class. She's also part of the Yesa Sahin, that's our language, Yesa Sahin language project, which they were the ones who hosted the tribal gathering this year. Or they have it every year, but they hosted it this year in Virginia. And then I also want to acknowledge Victoria Ferguson. She has been a huge part in us reconnecting and reclaiming our traditional foods. Because like I mentioned earlier about the food pits, about that's how these archaeologists go in and they say, okay, well, this is what your ancestors ate. Well, she was able to debunk some of that because they were trying to tell us that we never ate buffalo. And we were like, how do we not eat buffalo? We had buffalo down there. How do we not eat buffalo? And their argument was, well, you guys are too small, you know, blah, blah, blah. So you guys didn't eat buffalo because in the food pits, we didn't see any buffalo bones. But she was able to do a lot of research and a lot of writing to actually debunk that, where a lot of archaeologists are now writing differently because she explained that, yes, we were smaller tribes, but that doesn't mean we didn't eat buffalo. It just meant that we weren't able to take the whole body back with us to eat. So we would cut the meat off and take as much as we needed, but then we leave the rest for animals or different things like that. So that's why there's not any bones in those food pits. But she's a really amazing person. She's also written a lot of stuff. So if you just look up both of them, you will find a whole bunch of stuff that they just been doing. So I wanted to really acknowledge them. And they also give me permission to use the information that I used in this presentation today. So, okay, and then one more slide, last one. Just we're excited, citing the Victoria and Alexa. And then also provided resources. So there's Indigenous East right there. There's the Friendship Garden over at Virginia Tech. They were a huge part in a lot of the different Yeson tribes getting enough seeds for the Tudelo strawberry corn. Excuse me. They actually raised enough seeds this year where they were able to give them out to all the tribes, and that's how I was able to get my seeds. So I wanted to put them down for you guys to check them out and support them. And then there's also 7 Directions of Service. That one is led by Crystal Cavalier. She's Okanichi, fan of Saponi, and she does a lot of what's it called, awareness movements. So a lot of like fighting against pipelines, and there's just a whole North Carolina is not a very friendly place for a lot of natives. So a lot of our sacred lands and different things like that are always under threat over there because a lot of these pipelines and a lot of oil, what are they called, companies try to come in and they try to decimate them. So she's done a lot of, with Victoria Ferguson, they both have done a lot of work to stop these people from doing that and to protect our lands. So we are able to have access to go back to them for prayers and ceremonies, and just even for the tribal gathering that I went to, just even go there just for gatherings, to just be at that place, to be connected. And that is all. That is the end of my presentation.
Thank you so much, Crystal. So are you going to be planting your Tudelo strawberry corn?
Yeah, I'm trying to wait until the spring/early summer, but I'm so excited. I keep going back and forth. I'm almost about to start like trying to grow them inside, but I'm like, no, I gotta wait.
Right. Yeah. I'm sure that's really hard to do. Thank you so much for this presentation. It was really great to learn about all the different things. I took a couple notes. Anybody have any questions, comments for Crystal?
Good work, Crystal, you did it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've got
Thank you.
I've got one question that will help us with the Indigenous food study, and you probably won't have an immediate answer for it. But the big one is you hesitated when you were talking about agriculture and farming, and you said, I don't really want to talk about it like that. And you were busy trying to frame it in such a way like, well, this is what I think you'll understand. The answer is when we do the Indigenous food study, part of that sort of perspective is going to be very important. And so you may not have an answer for like how you actually talk about relating and is it food or is it anyway. If there are resources that you think that would help us get some insight into that perspective, great. Or if you have further thoughts about how like I was actually uncomfortable about calling it agriculture and food, that's also useful. Do you have any response to that?
Yeah, so I grew up quote unquote farming on my dad's side of the family. So we had cattle, we had a whole bunch of different crops. But my dad, you know, he's African American, and he never really worded it that way either. So I think it might be I don't know. I always thought about that too, because I think it might be more of a minority BIPOC thing because it's the understanding of like you're not yes, you're doing it nowadays for like capitalism to like feed your family and to provide for your family, but that you're not trying to push it so much to the limit where, you know, you're just basically profiting off of it. And that's why I don't like to use the word farming because when I use the word farming, that's what I think of as like, you know, basically you're just trying to take so much from the land that you're basically depleting it. So then you have to do all this other stuff like add fertilizers, add amendments to the soil. So, and I'm trying to think of resources of people who may have similar perspectives. I don't know if maybe because I know the Kickapoo and the Prairie Band, they have some pretty large farming operations, and then Iowa, they have their honey operations over there. So maybe reaching out to them and asking them, so you also get like a Kansas native perspective as well. But that'd be kind of interesting because they also do have, I know Kickapoo and Potawatomi, they also have buffalo herds too. So I hope that answers your question.
It does.
Okay.
Thank you, Crystal. This is also helpful for me as with administration because that Indigenous food system study and plan was focused on entrepreneurship, and just hearing your presentation that this relationship with the land and growing and seeds is not entrepreneurship necessarily. So
yeah, I know. Yeah, I was just gonna add real quick is like my dad, we never used any fertilizers. The only chemical we ever used was to spray down the crops. But we only did that because of basically if you have what they call quote unquote weeds, so like anything besides the crop, so like sorghum, milo, or wheat mixed in. So like so if you have what's called quote unquote wheats mixed in with those crops, it will actually affect the price that you can sell your crops for, which means you get less money. So that's the only reason why we would even spray our crops. But I think that again goes back to like farmers being forced to do that, not because they want to, but because of some sort of capitalism. But besides that, we literally didn't do anything. And there was all these farmers who had all this money, all this equipment, you know, all these acreage around us. And every year, I kid you not, they would always look at my dad's fields and be like, what the heck are you doing? Like, what seeds are you buying? What are you putting in the ground? Blah, 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 and stuff. And my dad was just like, I'm not doing anything. But he understood enough that he was like, you know, you have to let the ground rest. So there was always some sort of acreage always in a state of rest. So we weren't always planting, we weren't always plowing. And that's what a lot of these other farmers were doing. And it was just like they couldn't understand it. And I always thought that was really interesting, because for me, I was like, it's not a very complex thing, but for them it was, and they couldn't understand.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments for Crystal? Wonderful. Thank you so much, Crystal, for your presentation. I hope everybody learned a lot. And also just a reminder, like, you know, this was a presentation. So we helped fund Crystal to go to this. And this is something that if you have different conferences or gatherings of some type that can relate back to your work here with Food Policy Council, you know, reach out to leadership, Connie or myself or Cody, and you can make a request for us to help fund you to go to these and then give a presentation like this. Great job, Crystal. I see we have Jamie on, but I know we have Ashton in person. Do we want to go back to the memo now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Jamie, are you able to wait 15 minutes?
Hi, yeah, absolutely. Yep, Connie and she sent me a text, and I just hopped on so I could hear a little bit of the conversation about the memo. So yes,
Great.
Thanks for asking, Emily.
Yeah, thank you, Jamie. All right, so I see you, Crystal, there. Thank you. All right, so we are going to talk now about our memo to the Planning Committee review on Savion KSEC. Thank you, everybody, for your super hard work on this. I've been super busy with work stuff, so I've been absent and leaning on you heavy for this. Okay, so
I think I'll take a quick moment. So part of what there are lots of things that came up in the working group. And so I think while we talk about the memo, we should probably do two things. One is talk generally about the content. Currently, the memo ends in two recommendations based off of problems that the working group was encountering. And at least the first recommendation does specifically talk about policy goals in the food system plan. Specifically in the food system plan, there is, what is the right word? It requests a method for evaluating the protection of high quality agricultural soils.
Yes, or we're gonna have
guideline, method, or toolkit?
First,
No,
or after we just.
We currently moved asking for public comment after. So we do our little talk about what direction and what edits we do, and then we return to your 3 minutes of public comment. Does that work for you, Ashton? Sure.
Thanks for the patient.
Yes, thank you very much. So one of the things that is clearly coming up a lot when we're talking about this particular proposal is we continue to return to high quality agricultural soils and protecting them. We have no guidelines for what constitutes protection. We have no guidelines for what constitutes.
I want to say that Douglas County is in the process of developing an evaluation tool for basically grading agricultural land in this way. So that tool is in the development process.
When you say grading the land in this way, can you be specific? Do you mean which priorities, how we prioritize what counts as protection, or simply?
Like looking at a particular piece of land and identifying the qualities that it has and rating those on a scale as to how important the protection of it is Mary Miller is working on this in conjunction with many other people. It's and agricultural agencies, NRCS, Douglas County Conservation, they've been working on it for a while, and there's a lot of things being brought together into creating this tool that will allow an objective and fair evaluation of particular parcels relative to all the information that's out there about particular locations, soils, environmental concerns.
I think that's great.
Very complicated.
That's being done. It's consistent with the recommendations we're making here. Right now, we're focused on like this letter or this project. So yeah, take that into it.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is that we don't need to recommend that the county research, design, and implement the method. We should recommend that the method that they're working on now and have been working should be finalized before we move forward, before they move forward with making a long-term decision on this large area of land.
I don't know, I'm not sure I'm comfortable with that. I mean, that's not how the regulations were written. It wasn't for protocols that would be put in place further down the road. Those regulations are currently in place based around NRCS classifications and other things that have been developed over time. Yeah, related to those. So I guess, I mean, I appreciate it. What I would love to do is
so LESA is what it's called. Is my understanding is it's fairly close to implementation. And it incorporates all of the NRCS stuff.
I guess I personally, for me, I love setting goals that I get to check off really easily. So if we say that they need to research, design, and implement, they can easily say, well, we've already researched and designed. All we need to do is implement, and we did what Food Policy Council asked us to. So
okay, I think we need to acknowledge that they are developing it so that we don't look like idiots not knowing what they're doing, because they are already doing this. And we should refer to it by name.
I guess it sounds like you know a lot about it. We have never had a presentation here. I don't know much about it. So.
We need to get up to speed on that.
Okay. Well, just like with the climate action plan, it doesn't sound like they're ready to go presenting it to constituents like us, right? Like the it doesn't sound like it's ready for prime time yet, right? I mean, I don't have any problem with acknowledging that we understand that they're being developed. Maybe that's an ask that we do, is say we would like to see more presentations on that thing. That could be something we added. Yeah.
What was the name of the tool?
LESA, LESSA. And thank you. I apologize that I do not have resources now. I have still not figured out a way that I can get onto my computer in this building. So I didn't even bother to bring it tonight.
You cannot expect it.
I don't have access to any of my email now. That's an ongoing problem that I desperately need help with. And because of that email issue, I was not able to read this. I am not going to be comfortable voting on this tonight. Because
I gotta say, I agree with you. I think there's a lot of things that we all have changes.
very many things that are left out entirely from this that are important.
Well, so
And
December 4th is when we need to get this, when planning commission, where this would be relevant, right?
No, I think it's later than that. If the planning commission is meeting, if this is on the, well, I can't look things up.
Yeah, I thought it was on
the deadline for public comment is usually the Monday before, or the, within a week.
Yeah, that was what the bottom of the agenda was. Memo to be submitted to the planning commission week of Monday, December 4th.
Yes, and that's I think that's a week early.
That was on last month's
Yeah.
agenda, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry,
Yes. And I put that date in because the meeting is the following week.
the following week.
So while there's a little bit of a lull in conversation, I'm a little bit confused because I thought that this memo was kind of just going to be, I didn't think we were making a recommendation at all in this memo. I thought it was just going to kind of be like, here is how this project may relate to the food systems plan. Here is what we heard from community feedback. But to me, this reads a little bit like we're recommending that they do not go forward with this project. So I would like a little bit more clarity on what the memo is actually trying to do.
I would also like clarity on what the memo is meant.
Good question.
But I will say that the purpose of the recommendations is not again a yay or nay on the proposal. It's here are the policy goals we have, and do we have the tools to evaluate them? The recommendations can be left out, and it can be simply left as here is the work and information we've gathered, and leave it at that.
I would agree with you, Cody, on that regard as far as laying out. This is what the policy says. This was approved by the city commission or county commission as part of a Douglas County food policy plan. And therefore, it's our prerogative to reemphasize these standards that we are holding them to. And I would agree that, no, we do need to reiterate what those, at least our interpretation, I think, of that also that ability to then reiterate the interpretation of these standards. That's part of why we gather every month, is to continue to nurture and work through these standards and putting them into policy. And so that's my understanding of this memo, is to reemphasize the standards that are within the food policy plan and hold them accountable to them. And the best way forward, is our interpretation of it. And this is what we think. I don't think there's anything like that.
Tyler and Ashley, are you guys okay with me reading your comments out loud?
Yep.
Yes. Okay. So I'm going to read Tyler. So Tyler in the chat wrote, we simply won't know everything others might be working on. We simply do not have the capacity. However, we can be open and available to have people come to present. I also agree with Aaron that we need to remain neutral on being for or against the project itself, only what the guidance of the food system plan provides. And Ashley just agrees with that and says the memo without the recommendations would be best.
I was just going to say, the second to last paragraph, that reflects what we heard from the public, and that we discovered that the grading itself might be an important element. I think is perfectly appropriate. The second paragraph reads more like a recommendation that we're making. And so, I mean, I guess I read it like, I interpreted what we were doing like Aaron laid out, is that it's perfectly appropriate to relay what the public brought to us. But that's how I saw this changed from, at first we were making a recommendation or not, and then it was just, we're providing an about like a space for people to report and also an evaluation of that. And then now it seems like
I just want to respond to Margit a little bit. Margit, I think that you're right that it's a valid way to do that, but my understanding is that we were asked not to express support or opposition. That's why I'm saying what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's inherent like that. I don't know not enough and don't really have an opinion on the position that the memo currently is taking, but it was my understanding that we were asked not to express an opinion, not to support or oppose it. So
by whom? By whom was that? I guess I missed that. Who said that?
By the county.
And why?
By our staff.
I mentioned that it would be inappropriate for the FPC to express an opinion on an energy company. So it would be best to stick to the perimeters of agriculture, water, and soil. And to think about this memo not just for the Savion proposal, but for the solar regulations in general and future projects. My interpretation of the letter is that if you take out the project title, it's still relevant for future projects and the solar regulation. Tyler?
Yeah, thank you for pointing that out, Connie. I was going to say the same thing, that if we don't name this project explicitly and you say like any future project or any proposed future project or development in this whatever land designation, high quality soils or agricultural use, then you're taking a more neutral, like you're being more neutral and covering anything rather than a specific project. I think we should not list this project by name because you're just singling out one project. So do we do this for, are we going to be responsible then for doing this for every single project going forward if we name it by name?
Yeah, I would like to interject that there is potentially another known project that has not filed an application yet. So, and that project also will have, if they decide to move forward with it, will likely have similar issues with citing it on high quality agricultural land and the challenges that the solar regulations are inadvertently creating. So we should be writing this memo with an understanding that this is not about this project, but this is about what this project is helping us learn about the whole issue of agrivoltaics, solar installations, how we protect and evaluate farm ground when we are considering shifting it to primarily commercial uses. And when I say primarily commercial uses, what I'm seeing is that there are forms of agrivoltaics where the agricultural needs are prioritized in the design of the solar. And there are other forms of agrivoltaics where the agriculture is subordinate to the design of the project. And I think in this case, we very much have an example where the project is being designed so that only one form of agrivoltaics is possible, which is very different from a form of solar design that would allow a much more diverse,
I think,
types of agrivoltaics.
I think I have a practical suggestion. I think let's trim the memo to what we all understand. And I want to know from staff, is it allowable for individual council members, not as the full council, can we attach letters of opinion as ourselves and say, this is what we think it is, and that does not reflect on what the council says. So that way, when there are differing opinions, it still comes to the commission, but it's not part of the memo and it's not part of the full council decision in that, specifically because we're trying to trim down what we're doing to what information did we gather? What specific information did we gather? What did the public say? Instead of, because that's otherwise we'll do this forever.
I guess I would have a comment before that, before we jump to that, answering that, Cody. I'm sorry. I just feel like before you hold that thought, Cody, I mean, maybe that's something we might need to consider. But at the same time, I would also just say, I implore you guys to figure out what are we really representing food production and food sovereignty within our county that is protecting the productive capacity. And let's not kid ourselves. Putting big metal fixtures on prime agricultural land is destroying a prime source of nutrient-dense foods. These are the most fertile soils in the world. They are only representing 3% of the arable land in the world. Do you get that? These are prime soils. Sandy silt loams carry the most mineral nutrient density ever, anywhere. Irreplaceable. And so on. There's just a risk here that if we don't recognize this and then we give away to this commercial use, they are going to spread their panels across the whole Kansas River bottoms. Granted, the population's growing. What's going to stop them if they get their foothold here on the prime soils? Yes, it's the easiest place to build them. Does that mean it's the right place to build them? Just because it's the easiest place? And so there's an aspect where it's like, we can state this part of it, but I don't know that there's going to be any going back. There's never any retreat in these situations. And therefore, I guess I am not a person to just be neutral. We have a position on this council to take a position. That's our job. That's why we're on this council. And because we are part of the county, we have a voice in the county government. And therefore we, I think, should present this, not in a neutral, spaghetti spot. Sorry, no. Do we have a position or don't we? And I stand against it. I do vehemently, because as an agronomist, as an agriculturalist, I know these soils cannot be replaced. We cannot make more soil like this out of thin air. Enough said. But I don't think that it's easy to just give it all this room for them to interpret.
Thank you.
I don't think it's wrong to have an opinion. As a former certification inspector, the last thing I'm going to say is that I had to make decisions on thousands, hundreds of thousands of acres. I went around the country from the Great Plains inspecting farms for organic certification. And in those reports, it was a technical evaluation up against a standard, much like what we have to do regarding these standards. We're taking the standards and we're holding up this project against those standards to evaluate how they match or don't match. And then therefore, when you interpret the standards and see how they fit, yes, as an inspector, I would give an opinion. It wasn't my final decision, just like it wouldn't be our final decision. And you know that on some levels, no one's going to have a say because they've already kind of bagged it up as a project. It's done. It's ready to go, and they want it. But it's not going to have my name on it. Okay, you guys, it's not. I stand against this project and every solar panel ever to be presented on Kansas River Valley bottomland. Never. Sorry to get angry about it, but I'm sorry. This is serious stuff.
Again, we are not being. It is not our place to take a position as the Food Policy Council. We're not being asked to do that.
Which is why I suggested the letters.
Okay, well then you guys, then I'll make my own opinion about that on my separate private comments, you know, when I make my own position known as a private agronomist.
I think you should, and if
I would say,
please do. You know, like that's you know, we do.
I think the one thing you guys need to do, though, you laid out the standards, and that's the purpose of this memo, is to kind of pry. And I haven't had time to pry into this as much as I would like, but you're on the right track, is what I would say. Is like lay it up against the standards we have as a Food Policy Council, and then, but try maybe not to be so neutral. Just explore them to consider. This is important. This is special land that we're gifted with. We need to take care of it. And metal structures and not.
All right, Margie, we need to move on. Ashley, you had your hand raised.
So we don't have a motion on the table, correct?
We do not.
Okay, so my understanding is that this is going to the Planning Commission at the beginning of December before our December meeting. So if the Food Policy Council is going to send this memo, sign it, whatever, we need to vote on it. And if we don't all agree, then we can vote it down and that's that. So I move to, if I'm overstepping, sorry, I move to use the memo as written with the exception of striking the sentence in the second to the last paragraph that says Douglas County Food Policy Council would like to recommend to the city commission and county staff to, and then striking the next paragraph and sending the memo like that.
I second with an additional amendment of there are a couple consistency issues that Ashton did bring up, and there's also just a couple little editing things and editing and grammar.
If nobody seconds my motion, then you can't make an amendment yet.
Okay, that's true. I'm sorry.
So, just trying to move this along.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Do we have a second to Ashley's motion?
Ashley, I'll second your motion, and I'll just add again, the work that this group has done so far has been within their bounds of the Food Policy Council. We are in City County Advisory Board. We are not an independent private food and farm council. So we have to operate differently. So please keep that in mind as well. But also anyone is able as a person to be able to share their views and opinions individually outside of the council, which I know has been reiterated. Thanks.
Do we have an, all right, so we have a first and we have a second. Now is the time for discussion. So Cody had brought up, we need to clarify some consistency issues, and then there's a couple grammatical changes, and any other discussion at this moment?
How would there be any amendment of what Cody had said earlier about adding this second or last paragraph as a amend or as an addendum, or any other opinions as secondary? However that was Cody was talking about earlier.
There is not a movement. It was simply a suggestion that as council members independently, you say there is this draft, there is a memo coming, and as an independent person who sits on the council, here's how I feel. There's not a movement to do that officially as an addendum.
Yes, I highly encourage everybody who's really passionate about this to, you know, your place as an individual is important in this conversation. We are guided by the food system plan and as being this council. All right, so are we ready to take a vote? Any other discussion
Natalia
about
has her hand up?
Yeah, thank you. Natalia.
Okay, I think it's really important to strengthen the wording about the Northeast sector plan, because that is a policy that has been in place since 2012 that specifically says that commercial development is not allowed on this site or on any of the large blocks of agricultural soil in the Grant Township.
Is that why they have
You have language to amend it?
Oh, that's not, I just don't know.
Do you have specific language right now?
Yes, I do.
That second whole sentence, the second paragraph is where it is right now.
Yeah, so the second paragraph I would like to see the second paragraph start out as follows. The Food Policy Council utilizes the Douglas County Food System Plan as its chief guiding document, period. We remind the commission to prioritize protecting high quality agricultural lands. And everywhere we reference the goals and objectives, I think we should include FSP in right there, yeah. So that it's clear which plan we're referring to, because we are referring to the Northeast Sector Plan and Horizon or whatever, Plan 2040. Okay, so FSP Goal 2, Objective 1, in the planning process, or no, as a key focus in the planning process. And I can't read what's on the screen.
It's the same thing that's in yours.
Okay, but I can't read the comments and changes that you're making. I just want you to know that. The proposed location for the Kansas Sky Energy Center has been protected from commercial development by the Northeast Sector Plan since 2012. When the city of Florence and Douglas County adopted the Northeast Sector Plan. And then the next sentence, additionally, Plan 2040, I would say also states the need. And then in the parentheses, add FSP. And then that's the most I can help this at this time.
How do we all feel about I'm just kind of echoing what I've heard from some of the members tonight about the phrasing of we are concerned about proposed activities and as well as including the fact that we have this specific project in this memo. I'd heard from a few people to potentially to remove specific languages, specific project from this memo and be more general or not. as well as like saying, we are concerned, is that too much taking a side or not, or is that language neutral enough?
I wonder if, given the time and that we're supposed to have another presentation, if we should just vote on it as is, and then I don't know. I don't know if that's helpful.
No, I agree with Erin too. I also don't think it hurts to have the Savion name in there because we were specifically asked to weigh in on this. And then if it comes up with another project, we could be like, well, per what we're already on record with these opinions. Even if it lists a project, it's still a good record, I guess, that we can reference back to. And I feel like if we're going to do it, we need to vote on it because otherwise there was no point to doing this if we don't have it in time.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Ashley. Thanks to everybody. All right. Any other further discussion? Thank you, everybody, for all your edits and everything. Margit?
I just had a question. So was Natalia's, read Natalia's sentence. She was suggesting that first or second paragraph at the top.
Connie, do you have that, please?
I was not able to write it all down, but there were 2 additions to emphasize on the Northeast Sector Plan that that section of land has been protected. And also later, on the sentence after that, start with also states the need.
Okay, thank you. So, all right, we have a motion.
I didn't hear that. I'm sorry, Connie. Can you please read that again? Just
yes. So
earlier, put it in the chat so I can read it on text for a minute.
I don't have the full sentence. I apologize for not taking notes that quickly. But in short, Natalia's comment was to further emphasize the protection of those lands on the Northeast Sector Plan.
Yeah, I would like to propose that as a formal amendment.
That is the understanding.
Okay, then we need to somehow be able to see the wording of that.
Then I will ask you to repeat it one
more. Put it
more.
in the chat, Natalia.
Natalia's in person. She's not.
I do Zoom. I have no computer. I can't read what's on the screen up in front because.
Okay, sorry.
Ben,
you can.
In favor of typing it on the chat. 1 second.
I think I took this, but
thank you.
Thank you. What I can.
Yeah, I got it. Go for it. The council.
Starting with, the Food Policy Council.
Sorry, I gotta mute myself.
The Douglas County Food System Plan, FSP, as its chief guiding document, period. Remind the commission to prioritize protecting high quality agricultural lands. FSP. Prioritize protecting high quality agricultural lands. FSP, goal 2, objective 1. So most of that is the same as it was. Okay. As a key focus in the planning process. Okay. The proposed location for the Kansas Sky Energy Center, KSEC, or we could say for the conditional use permit currently before the Planning Commission.
I would just leave it as Kansas Sky Energy. I agreed with Ashley in the way that it's just, we'll deal with each case as it comes up.
Well, let's finish.
Proposed location for Kansas Sky Energy. Yeah.
Margit, let's finish here. 1 second.
Okay, whichever way you want to refer it to it. has been protected from commercial development by the Northeast Sector Plan, NESP, since 2012, when the Northeast Sector Plan was adopted by the city of Lawrence and Douglas County. End sentence. Can I look at that?
Yeah. I had to use abbreviation in some cases. So this is the first part. The policy council.
Can I ask a quick question, please, for clarification?
1 second.
Yes.
That's the last thing.
Margie, can we hold your
Let's change that last bit.
Margie, can we hold your question?
Pardon me? Oh,
after. Can we hold your question after? Thank you.
Well, it was just the phrasing, because I was trying to understand. So that first sentence, Natalia had amended or changed. She eliminated that phrase, more importantly, utilize the protection of high quality agricultural land. Correct? So first, it's like we asked the commission to prioritize protecting high quality agricultural lands per the FSP goal 2, objective 1, as a key assumption in the sector planning process. Is that correct? So she's striking out those 5 or 6 words.
Redundant to
okay.
To have that in, the high quality
redundant
land in there twice.
Yeah.
And I think it's
I see. I'm just trying to clarify that.
Just in there once, yeah. Yeah, it doesn't need to be in there twice. It's what the Northeast Sector Plan is about.
Right.
There been a second to the amendment?
Only confusion is that on one, the first use of it is got the capital letters on each of those words. I mean, the first use of it doesn't. The second use of it did.
We'll just.
And so I didn't know if that makes a difference.
All right, so we need to move on, everybody. Thank you, everybody. So, all right, so what we have on the floor right now, we have a motion and a second for removing the recommendation paragraph at the end. Using consistent language around the soil language, like using what the county already uses, and fixing some grammatical issues in the proposed updated language, but the Natalia that Ben typed out in the chat for those of you online. Ben, I mean, I'm okay leaving that in personally. I just wanted to address what I was hearing from other people.
Procedure.
So
Natalia speaking.
I proposed an amendment. I believe the parliamentary procedure says that
we need a second first.
It has to be voted on whether or not to add it.
We need a second. And
we need a second and then a vote on the amendment.
Did someone second her amendment?
I will.
Margit seconded Natalia's amendment. Any other discussion? All right. I thank you, everybody. I'm going to take a vote now. Cody.
Do we want to make space? I'm going to take a pause right now. Change presentation. I'm going to take a pause. We will do public comment in a second. It seems like we may have to table Jamie's presentation, or could you please raise your hand if you have capacity to extend this meeting? Verbally, if you are not on camera.
I can.
Can maybe say
Can't.
you can't. Who's that? Ashley? Okay.
I cannot.
Aaron cannot.
I cannot.
Enrique cannot. Do we need quorum to receive this? Okay.
We don't. Jamie, how do you feel about with the number of folks?
Yeah, if you guys want to proceed and have energy to hear a presentation after a discussion, I know you guys have had a lot of work tonight to do. I mean, I would not be the least bit offended if you guys want to table this presentation and hear it another time. That would be okay with me. So, but if there are people who want me to stay on and give it, happy to do that too. So. I don't feel married to any which way. It's up to you guys.
Jamie, maybe we could just a third option would be make it a quick summary of just where we are in the process right now and how they can weigh in, and then leave it open for further discussion at a later date. I don't know, just an idea of kind
That's
of
a great idea.
Way to pin it up.
Thank you. Also, the meeting is recorded, so we can send this to the other members who are not in attendance and request feedback.
Yeah, and the full presentation was given to the Public Transit Advisory Board right before earlier today. It's the same presentation I'm planning to give you guys tonight. So everybody would be welcome to listen to that recording if you want to hear the full, if you wanted to hear a full presentation, and I just do a summary tonight.
Could the presentation be emailed out to the council then?
The one that was made to Public Transit, or?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So.
Okay. Tyler, do you have a question, or can we move?
No, he's still. I think that's still from Bodie.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Let's go back to this item.
Okay, so we arrived at the item with the amendments. And so we need to allow for public comment, which we pushed back, and then we'll take an up or down vote.
Thank you.
Is that agreed?
Is there a reason we can't just vote real fast? We're at the end. Like, we need to vote on the amendment and then the motion, correct?
Yeah.
There is some insight.
Yeah, I mean.
There is what, Connie?
Ashton had provided some insight to consider, but it's up for membership to decide what to do.
Do we want? I would just say that we asked the public comment to wait until this portion of the talk, and actually showed up tonight. So we're talking about 3 minutes potentially.
3 minutes, vote, adjourn.
It's okay.
And then whichever members can't stay.
Come here and listen to all of it.
I agree with Ben. 3 minutes, vote, and then
move on.
Sounds great. Please, Ashton, you have 3 minutes.
All right.
Did we not have a motion on the floor for the amendment? Did we vote on that?
Yeah, Margit seconded. Right?
Margit seconded it, but we didn't vote.
Well, I think we would give public comment before we voted.
Right.
Or the final, right?
Well, this was why I suggested hearing public comment before we started with.
That's true. We cannot go back.
Yes. Let's move forward.
Please, Ashton, the floor is yours.
I appreciate how complicated and contentious this topic can be. I will say that, you know, I want everybody to understand that Savient has tried to act as a good faith partner in the community and be very outspoken and engaged with the community throughout this process. You know, in developing this project, we're following the regulations that were adopted by the Douglas County Commission and created through the Ad Hoc Planning Commission. And those deliberations included a lot of debate around the protection and preservation of prime agricultural lands. I would also point to the memo that was forwarded to the county commission last March of 2022. And I feel like in reading that memo, it's a bit in conflict with the interpretation of Goal 2, Objective 1, Policy 3, where it references, and I'll just read this, it's referring to agrivoltaics will also ensure the viability of prime soils for agricultural use throughout the life of the project, which seems to be in direct conflict with the interpretation in tonight's memo of Goal 2, Objective 1, Policy 3 at the end of paragraph 2. I would say, referring to the Northeast Sector Plan, it's probably also worth referring to, if anybody's got a pencil ready, 3.1.1.1.B.4, which is on page 39 of the document. I'll read that now, which states when referring to agricultural use, identify and create programs that promote continued agricultural use by supporting existing and new agriculture ventures. And I would just ask that the folks present in this meeting consider that agrivoltaics are a new agricultural venture. I would also want to just ask that in referring to the Northeast Sector Plan, where it states that commercial development is, or that the land is protected from commercial development, including the specific citation for that policy. And I'll yield that remaining 10 seconds.
Thank you, Ashton. Do we have any more discussion on this issue before we take a vote or any more amendments?
We need to vote to approve the last amendment and then a vote for the up or down vote of of adopting the memo with amendments.
No. I don't know.
We need to vote on the amendment, Natalia's amendment first.
Okay. Any other, but like amendments are allowed at this moment though, yeah?
We need to vote on her amendment before we can do another one, if there is one.
Thank you. Okay. We I am going to go around and we'll do a vote on this amendment. If you are on the chat, sorry, if you are online, it is the 2 paragraphs are under Ben as the amendment here, what Ben typed out. And if you're in person, I hope you remember what it
is. What he typed out.
Here, I will read it for everybody to listen.
Sorry.
The Food Policy Council utilizes the Food System Plan as its chief guiding document. We remind the Commission to prioritize protecting high-quality agricultural lands. Food System Plan Goal 2, Objective 1, as a key focus in the planning process. For the conditional use permit currently before the planning commission or has been protected from commercial development by NESP since 2012, the Northeast Sector Plan since 2012, when the Northeast Sector Plan was adopted by the city of Lawrence and Douglas County. All right, I'm going to go around. Cody.
Aye.
Ashley.
Nay.
Enrique.
Aye.
Ben.
This is on the amendment, right?
This is on the amendment specifically.
Okay, aye.
Aaron.
Nay.
Crystal.
I'm probably gonna abstain. I don't feel like I know enough to vote. Sorry.
Tyler.
I'm incredibly confused as well. I'm just trying to like mull it over in my head.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have to abstain for now. I just can't wrap my head around all this.
Okay, Natalia and Margit had made motions on this.
Well, I would say, because I understood the proposed location for Kansas Sky Energy Center was going to be part of that phrase and not just the generic reference to the current project.
I think we have to finish.
I think we have to finish. And so I have to withdraw my support.
Then just vote nay.
Oh,
wait, so Margit seconded that motion, this motion for this change.
Yeah, right. But then it changed after I seconded it. So sorry. Robert's rules can sometimes be somewhat tricky for me. Sorry. I don't agree with that generic statement. So I don't know.
Hold on, let me clarify. Okay. I don't think that there was anything there that the Kansas Sky Energy Center was removed from that, is my understanding.
Well, when you read it as the proposed project on whatever, blah blah. Anyway. Sorry.
I'm reading exactly what, hold on. So
I'd like to take a quick second. I think we've arrived at everyone's capacity for this at the moment. I suggest we either table it or we move the next meeting to Monday, the 4th of December, and we deal with it then.
I think it's the 6th.
Monday the 6th of December. It's the 4th. The 6th is Wednesday. I personally have a meeting that night already.
Just FYI, a second cannot be drawn once debate has begun. So she can't withdraw her second, but she can just vote on it and we can move on.
Thank you, Ashley.
Thanks, Ashley. Thanks.
If
it's not okay, did you want to read it one last time so I know what I've approved?
I was like, let me read it one last time. So, the Food Policy Council utilizes the Douglas County Food System Plan as its chief guiding document. We remind the commission to prioritize protecting high quality agricultural lands. Food System Plan Goal 2, Objective 1, as a key focus in the planning process. The proposed location for the Kansas Sky Energy Center, KSEC, is also protected from commercial development by the Northeast. Okay, hold on, sorry. Where is this second paragraph, for their conditional use permit? Where is that? Is that the second sentence here? I'm not sure I understood where this was supposed to be inserted. Ben, Natalia.
This has been, Natalia said it could be for the conditional use permit currently before the planning commission, or it could have been the Kansas Sky Energy Center. That's why I put the or Kansas Sky.
Oh, thank you. That was what I wasn't sure I understood there.
I'm trying to respond to other input from people about how specific to be. I don't care.
Okay, that was where we need to have that clarity of what that is. Is it a it can't be a either or in language here.
I think you read the language. We're voting on the language that you read originally, I think is what we have to do.
I did not read this out loud.
That's what I seconded.
Yeah, when you read it, there's a first.
That's what I seconded.
Margit, you're gonna have to type it in the chat. You're cutting off.
Oh, all I said is
you're cutting off.
What Emily had just read was sorry.
I think that technically we can do this as sort of a conceptual amendment. So if we all know what was meant by this amendment, I think that we can continue voting on it. And then I think we need to just do this amendment and get this voted on. I think it's within Robert's rules to not know exactly word for word what the language is going to be, but if we're all clear on what the spirit of the amendment was, that's what we can vote on, and we can continue and finish that voting.
Am I correct? I just want to make sure I'm understanding this. Sorry, it's hard to understand reading in the chat and then entering it in to into this plan. If I'm understanding this correctly, that's what I want to make sure I'm understanding. What this second paragraph that Ben wrote, is that supposed to be the second sentence in this paragraph we are amending?
Can I go inside this square of desks so I can see the screen?
You can sit next to me, Natalia.
What?
You can sit next to me if you like. Or you
As
can
far as I
go.
know, you can also go into the square desk.
Yes.
You can move the desk.
They're locked, but you can call it that.
I don't care.
So this sentence, as I'm reading it, is for the conditional use permit currently before the planning. The proposed location. Okay, so changing the proposed location for the Kansas Sky Energy Center is also protected from commercial development by the Northeast Sector Plan adopted by the City of Lawrence and Douglas County in 2012. Changing that to for the conditional use permit currently before the planning condition. So this is where, yeah.
There?
Yes.
Can you retype this out, please, Ben? I think this is where.
Connie's got that.
For the.
Got it. The reason I said there 4K at EC was because we were discussing whether or not it should be for the conditional use permit currently before the planning condition, or if it should be specifically referring to Kansas Sky Energy Center, because we were discussing if this should apply to everything.
We did not take out any language specifically for the Kansas Sky Energy Center. We did not agree. We've left it in for the rest of the document. So I would say we stay consistent using it.
So keep it.
So it should be for the Kansas Sky Energy Center, or for the proposed location, if you want to do it that way. But I just think we need to. Just all the way back to permit. The proposed location, you would need to say the proposed location has been protected. After permit, sorry, no. The proposed location.
No, that's not. Should be for the Kansas Sky Energy, whatever KSEC is, has been protected from commercial development by the Northeast Sector Plan.
That's just different than what was voted.
For the Kansas Sky Energy conditional use permit, the proposed location has been protected from commercial development by the NESP, right? By the Northeast Sector Plan. Since 2012, when the Northeast Sector Plan was adopted by the City of Lawrence. That was. The acronyms from there, but I think that's what I was trying to tell. was adopted by the city of Owens. It's became adopted in the city. Jamie.
Thank you, Jamie. Sorry about that.
Thanks, you guys. I'm gonna go ahead and sign off.
All right.
What are we waiting on currently?
I think we're waiting on Natalia to, or are we waiting on anything else?
I was like, do we have, so this is, Ashley, you're correct. Everybody's voted what was the amendment and how it was written in the chat. And I think the thing is that the chat, it wasn't clear in the chat. And I guess
How many more people have to vote?
I do. And I can vote. As like, this is on the amendment though, is what we're voting on. And I guess, so we're gonna vote on the amendment and then we're gonna go back and we're gonna vote on the original memo piece itself that we had, that you had,
my original motion. Yeah.
Your original motion, Ashley. Thank you. Okay. So I vote aye, although I did not take at all. Hold on, sorry. Tyler.
So wait, now this language was changed back. So it's been flipping back and forth between what's scratched out that mentions the sky energy. That's what I approved. I didn't necessarily know that it was being pulled as a proposed location, etc. in general terms. Because I thought we were going to leave it in as to this project.
It still says it, Margie. It says,
so now I'm confused.
It says case SEC.
Oh, okay, abbreviated, but
yeah, we need to have that
because it out the first time, since that's the first.
Yeah, that's
you can't just put an acronym in there without it first.
But that's a grammar thing that we don't need to vote on right now. Let's finish so we can get this done.
Okay.
Sorry, my question was on voting. I believe it passed. What?
With 2 nays and 1 abstention.
What's that?
With 2 nays and 1 abstention.
Thank you. That was really what I Tyler, how did you vote? I'm sorry.
I was abstaining, but now I can read better. So
that was what I thought. It was we had 2 abstentions and 2 nays.
That's correct.
So this motion passes for this update. We are now going to go back to Ashley's motion of approving to send this memo with taking out the last sentence, the last paragraph, about recommendations to the city, the county, the commission, the commission, the city, and the county staff.
The last paragraph and the sentence right before it.
Right. As well as adding in, as well as grammatical changes and consistency in language around soils, specifically to follow what the county already uses. So we had a motion from Ashley and a second from Tyler. So what we are going to do now is I'm going to go around and get votes from everybody on this. Cody.
Aye.
Ashley. Oh, sorry. You made them. Enrique.
Aye.
Ben.
No.
Natalia.
No.
Aaron,
Nay.
Crystal,
Aye.
Margit,
Aye.
I'm going to abstain.
So only Marquis six.
What did Tyler vote?
Pardon me?
Tyler had seconded it.
Oh, okay.
So actually, Tyler second, Marquis was the only one to vote yes.
6 ayes.
Oh, you said
I said-
Cody, okay.
Sorry, I have 6 ayes. 1, 2, 3, 3 nays, and 1 abstain.
We got it. I think it was 4-3-1, wasn't it?
I think it's 4.
Or 5-4.
I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5. Yeah, I have 5 ayes.
I only have 4.
I have Cody, Ashley, Enrique, Crystal, Margit.
Oh, Enrique did say. Yeah.
And Tyler.
That makes sense, yes.
Actually, and Tyler, sorry, 5. 6, sorry, 6. 6 ayes. Thank you, Ashley. That's a really great question. That's a really great point. So Ashley, I was wondering that as well. So Ashley made a note, and this is something that's really good for me to say. No, Ashley, as I've always just assumed. Ashley says the person who made the motion and the second should still vote just in case the discussion changes their vote. I was under the impression that making a motion and seconding it was a vote for aye. I will do more reading on that.
Also, I'm especially grateful to Ashley for all of the insight into order.
Yes, definitely. All right. Thank you everybody for hanging in there. I will now take a motion to end the meeting.
We actually don't need one.
We don't need one. Great. I was like, we have to do that in my board for some reason. Okay, thank you everybody. I know this is very dense, hard work, and this is what we're here for. I appreciate everybody who's been working hard on this memo and entirely on this whole agrivoltaics project. It's new, it's coming up fast, it's gonna keep coming at us, and we all have a lot to learn and a lot to work on. If you can, so Connie, is this draft available in a drive that people can work on if they want to do edits, or would you?
Yes, I can send this right as it is right now to everyone.
Okay. I was like, if there was grammatical concerns that you had, please let us know about that.
Word document, and you can send the comments back to me individually.
Awesome. I was like, I had a few updates. I know a couple people have a few.
That's for because the emotion is grammar. But not content.
Right, just grammar. Tyler says, let's come up with a better way to handle these going forward, please. And Ben seconds that. Yeah, I mean, I think having that committee was awesome, but yeah, it's fast work, and this is the stuff that's gonna happen, I guess, to us.
Okay, just a reminder that also everyone can send their individual letters.
Yes, that's a great reminder. Is if we didn't vote the right way, the way you felt, or it's not reflecting your personal views. Yeah, and I agree, Margit. We need to stick through these difficult challenges. This is what we've signed up for, to do some of this tough work. And I appreciate everybody voicing your thoughts and your opinions, and then also being respectful of each other throughout this process and sticking with it. Had some great discussions, as well as respect for each other through this. And that's what we're here for. And Margit wants to know, who do we send our personal thoughts to? Do we have an email address for that easily?
I can send it to the full council. for planning.
You can send that out.
I'll send it out.
Thanks.
And then Crystal would like more information via email about this whole issue. It's very new, as we've been talking about, Crystal, as well as like a lot of like little pieces, and there's so much going on with like the presentation that came about this for this specific project, as well as like the history of agrivoltaics and the council as a part of it. Yeah, understood, Crystal. It's, I mean, that, so as, yeah, there's like some background, as I believe that land is already owned by Evergy. Is that correct?
No.
No. So, no, Margit, can you tell me more? It's not already owned by Evergy. It's proposed to be owned by Evergy.
It's a lease, 110 acres was potential to buy after 25, right?
I see.
180.
I think. Thank you for that.
I don't know. I had the neighborhood. Yeah.
Right. So yeah. So that's why there was like those conversations about that. That's why there was like some of the language in that memo about what's going to happen to aging out farmers and their land. And I know that conversation is happening.
Yeah. I would like to suggest that someone from the Food Policy Council reach out to the county, wherever we need to reach out to get us up to speed on the LESA project and find out what the timelines are on that. And because my understanding when I was talking to Mary the other day was that it's very close to implementation.
Okay, I think that's something I'm personally interested in. So Connie and I, or at least Connie, or even I can reach out to Jamie or Kim, and I would like to know. So I'd like to reach out and get that out.
LESA was, which I found a few things after I
okay.
Well, but some of them weren't, many of them weren't accessible. But
yeah,
but they exist.
Because
they do
exist. Approved.
Right.
Final. But I know that there was an update given to the Douglas County Commission fairly recently about where things were at.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Ashton.
Thank you, Ashton.
Yeah.
Okay. Ending this.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Signing off. Good night.
Bye.
Thanks, Emily. Bye.